Hello everyone and welcome or welcome back to my podcast or the YouTube channel depending on what you're listening to and what you're watching. So today's video is actually something that is my personal discovery. So before I begin, this is no form of self-diagnosis. I'm not promoting any form of self-diagnosis. It's only from my perspective. It is my own theory. It is about how I perceive my mental and spiritual health. So I hope that this take on my personal health helps you to have a different perspective on your own mental and spiritual well-being. So yes, so before I begin, a few days, or no, not days, I think a few months back, I was listening to a podcast by Osho, and he says that the awakening or the spiritual awakening happens firstly with the awareness of your body, then it goes to the awareness of your mind, and then it goes to the understanding and awareness of your soul, which is very, very intricately answered to somebody's question. I don't know who it was, of course, I don't know. Anyway, so, and this is where I'm taking you. So firstly, if you have any, for example, when I get anxious, I get pain in my chest, I get pain in my left arm, and I'm sort of unable to breathe. That's when I have anxiety or I'm having a panic attack. So something like that when it happens. So this is because I notice the symptoms first in my body. So for example, another way, for example, my mind perceives a faster heart rate as an anxiety attack, or as something that as a moment when I need to be fearful of the situation that is there in front of me. So this is what really happens, like when my heart starts to palpitate. If I'm not aware of the fact that my mind becomes aware of my anxiety after my body, then I would just be on an autopilot mode and let my mind perceive as my increased heart rate as an anxiety attack or as an anxious feeling. And anxiety is nothing but, it's the fear, fight and flight mode. And so when you perceive whatever situation or wherever you are as a dangerous situation, so your mind perceives it much later, much after your body feels it. So you need to understand, like, that's why it's important to practice mindfulness and meditation, so that you're aware of your thoughts, and you do not attach yourself to your thoughts, not to your negative thoughts or your positive thoughts. You would understand that thoughts would just always come and go, and you would just let it pass. So you know that if you don't attach the idea of your heart beating really fast to the idea of a perceived danger or fear, and you just detach it from that thought, you don't give that thought a lot of importance and weightage and let it pass, then so will your anxiety pass. So that is why we focus on pranayam, that is, focusing on your breath, because then again you change, because your mind is reacting to how your body is functioning. So you begin to function your body in a very different way. So you try to bring your mind's attention to your breath. So yes, so this is how your mind and body are related. So now I have been talking about ADHD and ADD, and even like other disorders like my suicidal thoughts and my depression, from the perspective of my brain and my mind. Now I want to talk about how having ADHD or how having ADD, the hyperactive or inattentive type, whatever type it is actually a very, very, very big blessing if you just change your perspective and you begin to understand your soul. So if you look at it from a spiritual aspect, it is, I think, the biggest blessing. So this is what today's episode is all about. Also, another thing that I would like to say before I get into the spirituality, two things actually. So whenever I talk about spirituality, like in all the technical, using all the technical jargons, and just coming out of the spiritual closet freely and talking about all these psychic gifts and abilities, I get very excited. B, I always use the term like not PG-13. So whenever I say that I'm keeping it PG-13, it is because I feel like I have to translate many things that I feel are too too spiritual in nature and translate them into very simple words. So in today's episode, I just not wanted to be very PG-13. Okay. That is the translation, okay? That is the only translation of what I said and what I meant. Okay, the second thing that I want to say is the fact that I don't like using the term disorder, especially when it comes to mental disorders. I don't like the term disorder because a disorder, gives you a very negative connotation, or has a very negative ring to it. Understand that if something is in your mind, if it is in your brain, then your perspective towards looking at a particular problem or a situation is everything. So if you perceive depression as a problem, as a disease, anxiety as a disease, your hyperactivity, your hyperactive brain as a disorder, then this is how you will feel trapped and victimized, and you would not be able to come out happy and healthy. Because the first thing to a happier mental state is the form of acceptance, because you can't change who you are. You can only be who you are to the fullest form. So to be who you are, you need to happily accept who you are. And you can't accept if you keep talking about yourself using jargons and words like I have this disorder, or I am diseased, or whatever people say. I'll talk about how I don't think that depression is a disease at all, and in maybe later episodes, and even about anxiety. But I would just like you to be very mindful of the words that you use. And today's episode, I hope that it gives you a very fresh perspective on how you can perceive your mental health. So yeah, let's get started. So the first way, or how I perceive my brain's functioning, or my ADD or ADHD, whatever you want to call it, I'm just keeping it very general, as a blessing when it not comes to spirituality. First, the non-spiritual aspect, the PG-13 aspect, is that because my attention goes everywhere, and I'm such a determined person, I have a very strong will, and so my attention really goes in every area of the life. So because of this reason, I have been able to cultivate many skills. I know how to sing like a little bit, and I have focused a lot on my dancing. I've had different degrees. I have had my undergraduation in physics, one master's in electronics, my second master's, which was almost complete, but then whatever, at the last moment I decided to leave it and come back to India and become a life coach later on that. So that was on computer science, and I was working in the field of data science and neural networks as a researcher, and I did many different kinds of researches on that. So in parallel, I was also making music and things like that, but also I was working as the director of an organization called Juvenile Care, and which works for child rights and child abuse eradication. So this is how it has been the biggest blessing in my life, because my attention goes everywhere and I pay attention to where my attention goes. For example, if I am unable to study something, and if I'm not in the mood to study, if I'm getting bored with what I'm doing, I would see, okay, where is my interest at the moment? If I feel like dancing, I would really focus on dancing, and and cultivate that skill. Yes, at times it gets difficult to focus on one particular activity, but then it's okay. I entertain all the activities and all my curiosities. I have I think knowledge in different fields of science and now spirituality, because I'm a very curious person, and that is in fact how I learned tarot as well, because I was just curious about what it is, how it is working, how are these people doing it, or what are psychic abilities. So I was just curious. I'm just a curious person, and I get that curiosity because of my hyperactive mind, my overactive brain, and this has been the biggest blessing. So the second thing why I think that my condition is actually a blessing, because of the fact that I talk to myself a lot. I have always liked talking to myself, and I have always been doing this since I was a child. And now that I have become more aware spiritually, I have worked on raising my consciousness and my awareness by meditating and by practicing mindfulness, and so many like using healing modalities, which is a blessing, the most beautiful thing. If you don't know some healing modality, I would say like you must learn at least one modality. Yes, so the fact that I talk to myself a lot, I think that it's not just talking to myself. I sort of channel my higher self. So your higher self is a culmination and of all your spiritual aspects, I would say. It's like on all your energetic bodies. So our perception is very limited most of the times. We think that we only exist here, where we are, which is good at times, but this also limits our perspective majorly. So when it comes to your higher self, I do believe that we live in the past and the present and the future, and different lifetimes, and even on different planets, I believe that, and in different realms of the spirit, all at the same time. And your higher self is the version of you that has lived all these lives and has lived all the future possibilities and has lived literally everywhere. And so I realize that when I am talking to myself, I'm not just randomly talking about things. If I'm going through some difficult phase, I have developed this ability to talk myself out of the worst situations ever, because I give this self-talk, this narrative. I have worked so I have removed the aspect of fear. So there is one thing called the negative self-talk, which is all an ego-based self-talk, which is all your anxious thoughts, which is all based on fear. But that is why when you start preaching spirituality, the first thing that everyone says is that you go through an ego death. So that is why letting go of your ego is the most important thing, because if you live in ego, you live in fear, or you live in the victim mentality, or you live with so much pride that says that I know everything. And a person who knows everything, I believe that they know nothing, and you can't really explain anything to those people, and you cannot feel comfortable talking to such people. So that's why ego death is very important. So it's also, ego death is also called the dark night of the soul, and people generally, if they're not self-aware, I hope that it's easy to become self-aware and awaken spiritually without having to go through bad experiences. But then, because our egos are so strong, we have this dense covering of ego, that negative self-talk that keeps going on in your head, because of which we sometimes have to go through the worst of experiences to realize that life is fragile and you have one life and you have nothing to fear. Because when you go through the worst of things possible, the things that you fear the most, and you come out of them alive and happy, you realize that life is not to be lived in fear, and there's nothing ever to be afraid of. So that is why the spiritual aspect helps. And so I have this capability of channeling my higher self every single day. I am very much in touch with my higher self, and I think all these curiosities are not just random curiosities. It's not just because my brain is, going here and there randomly. I do believe in giving it importance because I think that there is a deeper meaning to it. If I'm not interested in doing a particular activity or staying in a particular job or doing a particular degree just for the sake of attaining a degree anymore, I think there is a reason behind it, because I'm not interested in it. Because if I was interested, this would have made me feel happier. And if I'm not happy, then I don't want to finish it. Life is not about just getting degrees or getting that, whatever, like these. I personally, I do agree with achieving things, but life cannot only be about these physical achievements of how much money you have, what kind of clothes do you wear, what car do you drive. If you're not happy from your soul, if you're not free from within, if you're not in touch with your higher self and your true guidance, then it's of no use. And I think that me talking to myself is not a random act. I do think that me feeling curious about random things all of a sudden, me wanting to look into different things, like, okay, what did that person mean? Maybe I should Google, maybe I should search on YouTube, or something, whatever. I think it has all helped me in ways that I cannot even explain. So this is, I think, the first way of how my ADD, my brain, helps me spiritually. So keeping it PG-13, I think you can also think about me talking to myself as me detaching from my own emotions. So when you feel that you and your emotions are the same things, then you tend to attach yourself a lot to your emotions. You have feelings about emotions, and then emotions about emotions, and then you're just stuck in that whatever nonsense that goes on in our heads. So in order to detach from that and look at what is going on in your head in a very rational point of view, it's very important to talk to yourself. So this is another perspective that I missed in the first segment. So anyway, so moving on. So the other way how I think that my mental condition is a blessing and not at all a curse is because I am a very clear channel to the spiritual guidance. And of course, I am a clear channel when my higher self wants to talk to me. But it's not just about what my higher self wants to talk to me about. It is also if I have to channel an energy of an angel, the archangels, and I became more aware. I had this huge inclination towards the energies and knowing more about the archangels, and then I started reading about books by Diana Cooper and how angels communicate with you. And I have had real experiences with finding feathers at the places, and at the time that I asked to find the same colored feather at a particular place at a particular time. So it's very funny and it's very beautiful. I've felt embrace of my angels when I'm singing, especially when I'm singing. I think I have had that experience. Initially, it was a little scary, I'll be honest. But now that I'm opening up, and I just, talk about my fears with my archangels, and I tell them that, okay, you can come near me and you can show me that physical touch as well, but you please go very slow, because I don't want to feel scared. Okay, so please be very gentle. Like, don't just come, like, because your angels are very enthusiastic and they love to talk to you. Your guardian angel is very enthusiastic, especially. And all the archangels, I think one of the archangels is sort of my guardian angel. Anyway, so I realize that all these things and thoughts that go on in my head are very important and are not random and are actually my spiritual guidances. And the fact that it's so much at times is because the 5D or the 5-dimensional or the spiritual realm that works much faster than what we as humans, as souls living in this human body, can imagine from, or even healthily understand and accept because of our conditioning and the way that we're brought up in our education system. In the 5D realm or in the spirit world, it's all, there's no interruptions, there's no dense energies of negativity, of hatred. So when like in the spirit world, it's all very quiet. It's all very peaceful and easy, I would say. So if you want something, it comes to you immediately, and so will the knowledge, and this idea of time and space sort of crumbles, because I do believe that time is just a matter of perspective and it's a man-made concept. Sometimes it puts us in boxes, and I do love the theory of relativity, which perfectly explains this entire concept. Anyway, so and the fact that the 5D and the spirit realm is so fast and our world is very dense and ego-based and slow, when you get so many spiritual downloads, it might seem like your mind is imagining things and it's going very fast, and it's sort of out of control, and that's why like it becomes hyperactive. Okay, so for example, if now when I channel an energy, or when I channel the thoughts of an archangel or any spirit guide, and if I'm doing automatic writing, I realize that my handwriting is not bad when I'm writing slowly and like the way I write. But because I am so, like, my thoughts are so fast and I have to write so fast that my hands cannot keep up with that pace. And this I have realized happening now when I am doing automatic writing and channeling. And I have channeled very accurately. And I have been reading tarot and channeling energies of different spirit guides and spirits of people who've passed away, who are acting as some people's spirit guides, and it has all been a very beautiful experience. But this has shown me how what we perceive as a disorder, if we change our perspective and look from it from our soul's point of view, this means that my soul is a very clear channel to spirit. And whatever ideas I'm getting are spiritual downloads. I remember last year, in the month of November, when I had my first awakening. So you have multiple awakenings in your spiritual journey. You will awaken multiple times, but there's the first awakening that's eye-opening, like, okay, wow, this is not the world that I thought I was living in. Okay, so this is your first awakening, which is always very different from the rest of the ascensions. That's why people call the other awakenings as ascensions and not just awakenings, because the first time is when you really wake up, like, okay, what am I doing? So after I think I experienced that, there was a period in my life when I couldn't sleep for many days. And this stage of awakening is also called the bliss, because I was very happy and I was not stressed or depressed, but I was not sleeping. And not sleeping because I was getting these random ideas. So many ideas on philosophy and on how your brain functions, how your mind functions, and how everything is connected and related, about three-dimensional world, about what is five-dimensional world, what, and I couldn't understand. I could not sleep for a long time. I didn't know what to do. And then because I was listening to many podcasts, I realized that there was one podcast, and I don't know, one day I just got this voice in my head that said that you need to record podcasts. And until the time, I think I did not start making my podcast. The initial episodes I actually recorded with headphones. I had those Samsung headphones at that time, and so I was keeping the headphone, close to my mouth so that the voice is audible. I didn't know how to edit it properly, so I used this beautiful app that's called Anchor. And Isabel Palacios, she introduced me, from her podcast, I got to know about this app that's called Anchor. Anyway, so I think till the time I did not start recording episodes for my podcast, I could not sleep, because my angels and my guides were so strong, and they were giving me these huge downloads, and I think my family was shocked, like, what has happened to her? What is she even doing? How does she know all of this? Because I wasn't, it's not like I was not like this. I think I was so unaware of my soul. I was living again with that dense ego mask and fear. I was so fearful of my mental condition. Oh my God, I have anxiety. Oh my God, I have depression. That I couldn't realize who I was. So till the time I did not have that ego death, I did not let go of the victim mindset, of feeling sorry for myself, of living in fear-based mentality of what if this happens, what if that happens, I have to think logically, I need to be practical. Till the time I did not stop doing all of that, I couldn't understand how everything was just spiritual guidance. Now, the next thing that I want to focus on is the fact that I've realized I am a big time psychic. I am a crazy psychic, and because I didn't know this earlier, and I still, I'm very doubtful of my abilities at times. And so when I'm making predictions, earlier I was very scared, now I'm not as scared. So I just speak whatever comes to my head when I'm reading cards. Earlier I used to think a lot, like, why do I feel that the month of December is significant? I don't know why. I'm sorry, but this is what I feel. Please don't kill me if I feel this way. And now I'm like, it's the month of December, and if this doesn't happen, then you can sue me. Please don't come and sue me. It's not me, it's my guides and your guides that are guiding me to do that. Anyway, so I've realized that I have beautiful psychic abilities of being clairvoyant. Clairvoyance is when you just know. You don't have a reason behind why you know certain things, but you just know. I know. And I think this is a beautiful ability. I think that I've always had this. It's just, again, because of that fear and so what society tells you, and you trying to fit into the mold of society and not being of that size. Example, if you're like trying to fit into a dress that's not your size at all, so of course you wouldn't fit into it, and you would not be comfortable in that dress, right? So it's sort of a similar thing that was happening with me. And I think, like, now when I am more confident, becoming more and more confident about and learning more about my psychic abilities, I think clairvoyance is one thing. When we say that I have this gut feeling about this person or this thing, I can just sense it. The second thing that I've realized is that I am a very strong empath. And so because of this, I can pick up on other people's energies. I can pick up on other people's moods. I would just know, okay, like many of the times it's very intuitive, like my way of me trying to help people is extremely intuitive, and I completely rely on my intuition, and I'm learning to trust it more and more day by day. Because I would just feel that, there's something else that's going on. And it's because of my clairvoyance and me being an empath, having this ability to put myself into anybody else's shoes. And because I'm an empath and I am also clairvoyant, I also can, and I am very much in touch with the spiritual guidance, and I am a very clear channel. I think that my ability to talk to people's higher selves is one thing, and because of which I think I have discovered that I can have telepathic communication with people very easily. So if there's anyone in my life with whom I feel that I'm going through a tough time or a rough patch, or just randomly I would, I remember this happened a few months back when I got my COVID. So I was whatever, I was not well in the month of April. I don't know if it was COVID or not, because I I don't know what it was. Okay, so when I was not well is when I realized that my third eye is opening, because I would have severe pain here, and I would just randomly think of a person in my head, and that person would text me right then and right there, and I couldn't understand what's happening. Okay, so I can keep it not PG-13. So I believe that I was going through my Kundalini awakening. I genuinely believe that. And when I was going through my Kundalini awakening in the month of April, is when I discovered that my third eye opened like poop. And when your third eye opens up for the first time, it can be very surprising, very shocking, and again give you restless nights, because you are able to listen to people's thoughts. And because of our upbringing, you don't understand that these are actual thoughts of someone's higher selves till the time you communicate with those people. So in order for me, like my guides, what they would do is that I would think of a person, and then that person would either call me, and it still happens, or just text me. Okay, and very regularly. Mostly it's like within a few minutes, sometimes it's after a few hours, or even like within a day or two, depending on how strong the other person's ego is as well. So if that other person is listening to their higher self, I think as soon as I receive a communication, they communicate with me directly as well. So they would approach me for an issue that they're going through, or just anything that I'm thinking about. I think also me and my sister, my sister has played a very important role when it comes to my telepathic communication, because me and my sister, we have such a strong bond that anytime I would think of something, she would be thinking of the same thing, and we intuitively we just know, and we would talk about the same things, about the people around us, about the situations. And she's also very very strong psychic, and she's extremely clairvoyant. And so she would also predict like sort of the similar timelines as me. So she has played a very important role in validating my experiences, because spiritual awakening, if you don't have support or someone to talk to, it can really feel like you're going crazy. Trust me, you are going crazy as well, but you're a crazy genius is what I would like to say. Yeah, so I think my psychic abilities are like, and if you just think from the perspective of human psychology, then somebody would say that no, this is because of this and this disorder or a disease. And I would just like to strongly disagree with that, because this is a gift, and I have been able to help so many people out of certain critical situations that they did not find a solution for. And I am a perfect example for that. And now when I read tarot for people, I know I'm able to channel, I've been able to channel guidances from people who are alive around them, and to sort their confusions, and even from the people who've passed away in this life, and they have had certain messages to give to their loved ones and my clients. And so yeah, I think my psychic abilities have heightened because of my mental condition. So like I said in my last video, if you slip into daydreams a lot like me, then you are a master manifester. Your thoughts create your reality. It is what you focus on in your head is what you would create in your life, what you would attract in your energetic field. So if you are also like me, if you have an hyperactive mind that goes here and there and keeps slipping into daydreams and imaginations and keeps thinking about random things, it's because you have higher guidances and you are a very clear channel and you are a master manifestor. So this is another take on my mental health. In the book Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, he said that there are many people on this earth who incarnate as messengers. So if you are also, if you feel that the guidance that you get in your head has some deeper meaning, if you do feel that you are a very sensitive person and you are very sensitive to energies, I would say work on maybe changing your perspective, because it helps. Spirituality is the most beautiful thing that you would ever discover, because we're not humans on a spiritual journey, we are souls on a human journey. And I really hope that this helped you in some possible way to give you a fresh perspective on your mental health and how your perspective is really everything when it comes to your mental health, and how you call it and how you perceive it and how you accept it and you understand it. So yeah, I hope that this was a little helpful, and I will hopefully see you next time. In case you have any questions, all my contact details are there in the description of this episode. I would again like to repeat that please avoid self-diagnosis. If you feel like you're going through any critical condition, please feel free to reach any professional. And whatever works for you, works for you. There is no one way out of any problem. Each one of us is very different. So we all need different tools to cope and to live a very happy and healthy life. So thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.